And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly just describe to you guys, or kind of just cover, thanks Scott, what firm I represent. We represent a company called ehsInc. And for those of you that don't know what we do, we pretty much, in a nutshell, cover all four corners of the regulations when it comes to consulting and training. So we've been in the business since '97. We do written program development all the way through the evolutional safety chart to the subsequent employee rollout training. And for those of you that do have fulfillments to minority, disabled, women-owned, we have all the business enterprises except for the veteran-owned. So that'll kind of help you guys out fulfill those requirements as well. Thanks, Scott. Scott, he's our exclusive East Coast partner. He is the vice president of operations for a very, very reputable firm out in the East Coast called Emergically. He'll explain it a little better, but they're a nationally recognized company specializing in viral hazard and infectious materials remediation. He's the go-to guy. He's very reputable. He's an awesome person to deal with from personal experience, and he really runs the show out there. And if you folks don't know, he just recently did a webinar for SST requirements. And if you are in the construction industry and are working in any construction site, you need to be SST certified. And he is an SST provider, and he does provide the OSHA 10 and 30 that is required. And as your slide tells you, that his demographic and his market area is a tri-state area. It's New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia. And also, he has quite the repertoire of a resume. He has extensive knowledge in regulations that apply to whatever industry you're in. In this particular case, we've put in Department of Labor and OSHA. But he does have extensive knowledge in the regulations with construction as well, and other things of that nature. So if you don't mind, just go to the next slide. And then just as a reminder, disclaimer, you folks know webinars are a brief summary summary of what the topic that we're describing or presenting on. We do provide a 2 to 4 hour program that does incorporate your emergency action plan or your EAP. So we kind of make it more hands-on. We do some simulations. If you folks have the need to do that, extensive training that covers fire prevention, all that good stuff, we can come out to your facility and do that for you. And Scott is one of the, again, instructors that covers his market in the East Coast. All right, Scott, I think I've said enough. I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton to you, sir, and let's just go ahead and again, just as a reminder, folks, keep this webinar engaging. Use that chat menu, use the Q&A. Scott thrives for that. Keep it coming, and if he can't see the questions, I'll definitely jump in and read them out loud. Scott, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you so much, Eric. Hey, everybody, how you guys doing? So today, the course agenda, we'll be talking about EAPs, emergency action plans. This is where I'm going to kind of get a little engaging because we know it is Good Friday. Everyone's want to head out early. So we're going to kind of look at things, and I really want you guys to tell me what you guys have experienced in the course agenda. Earthquakes, flood and landslides, terrorism, chemical attacks and pandemics, fire safety, post-event survival, and search and rescue. Like I said, and as well as Eric said, please ask some questions, some feedback going on into this, because I really want you guys to really be engaging and understand what we're talking about. An EAP, also known as an emergency action plan. This is going to be standard. You see it in schools. You see it in almost all businesses. When you walk into a room, they have the exit plan, as a lot of people will say, if something happens. An emergency action plan must be written, kept in the workplace, and available to all employees. Now, for small businesses, like many other regulations, if you have 10 and fewer employees, it may be communicated orally through a meeting. Now, one of the things that I do is if you're actually out in the field, like dealing with the Servpro or any type of remediation company, or you go into different sites, construction sites and everything, during my tailboard, tailgate, whatever you guys would like to use, we actually say and actually go over an EAP orally within the group to make sure everyone understands where the location is. Although it's still written in the main safety building, could be a trailer, we still like to communicate that orally to our people before every shift to make sure they understand what's going on. Now, the EAP requirements. You have rescue assignments, alarm systems, training, evacuation procedures, assembly areas, reporting and notifications. This is going to be assigned. You guys are going to assign your team members to this. Your supervisors might be in charge of reporting and notifying if anyone's missing, taking the mustard and saying, okay, everyone's here, everyone's accounted for. Let me then approach the higher safety officer, the higher manager, say, okay, everyone's accounted for here. Your rescue assignments, or fire protect, anything. What's people going to do? Make sure everybody understands what everyone's going to be doing going forward. Review your EAP when it's developed. Employees are initially assigned to a job within the EAP. When EAP is changed, once a year to include an evacuation drill. You should have an evacuation drill once a year, no matter what. Just go over, guys. Okay, if something happens, this is what's going to happen. We're going to, evacuate going this way, this way, this way. Now, when you're on a construction site, or if you're at any other type of smaller building, or you're new to a newer building, I would still do that. Make sure it's orally communicated to you guys. Understand that you guys need to know this. You guys should. It would be in your best interest to understand, know this, know where this is, make sure all the employees know, because during an event of emergency, the last thing you really want is chaos. You want it to be organized, although it's very hard to say it will be organized, because half the time it's not, because you're never expecting an emergency. But planning for one is the best case scenario, because in a case of an emergency, having the tools necessary to handle it is the number one reason to get everyone to safety. Alarm systems. Everyone has smoke detectors, carbon dioxide detectors. Employees shall establish an employee alarm system. If an employee alarm system is used for alerting fire or other purposes, signals for each purpose shall be used. God forbid you shut down an alarm or fire, you have to do fire watch. So there's steps and places that you should have in your protocol or in your EAP to make sure everyone understands what their assignments are, and also have an EAP for an EAP. Evacuation. Employees should establish the different types of evacuations to be used. Okay, what's going on? Also, you don't want an evacuation route to be on a busy highway. You would like it to, for me, let me say that, not a busy highway, but a crowded area. You would like it to be away from any hazards, any falling debris. You would make sure that that area that you guys are meeting, that evacuation point, is going to be cleared so you can evacuate. Evacuation map example, if you guys can see on the slide right here, this is an example of the Santa Ana Public Library evacuation. You have the exits here, and then you have the meeting point, which is in a grassy area about three to four paces back, I would say. So as you can see here, the children's patio, they all have the exit routes that's meeting at one center point, where that's where you will have your mustered, and that's where you'll take your attendance, as you can say. The EAP warden is responsible. I don't use the word warden, but like your safety officer, whoever's writing your EAP, who's ever making you understand, you really want them to understand what's going on. Once the alarm has sounded, quickly change into a sturdy, comfortable shoes. Understand that, okay, something has happened. Have a change of clothes. Understand and make sure people will understand that now an emergency is going on. You have to be prepared and be ready to do anything. Do not attempt to put out any fires unless that's your job. If it's a small fire in the kitchen, pull the alarm, identify to everyone that there's a fire. If this fire extinguisher handy and you think you can do it, we'll talk about that later on in the discussion. Put it out. But if it's to the point where you don't think you can handle, get out. If there's an earthquake, wait in a safe place until the building stops moving. Okay. The carnival games, if anybody thinks about that, back in the day, we had to run through that little hallway and it was going back and forth. Yeah, you never made it out without bumping into a wall. That's the thing. You don't want chaos going into an earthquake or any type of an emergency situation. You really want to just stay. Get into a safe location. and we'll talk about that actually in the next couple slides about where to sit, a doorway, certain areas to when it stops moving, then you safely exit if you can. Do not move any objects ever unless you've really scoped it out. Now this can range in both ways. If you have to move an object to get out of a building because an earthquake just happened, if you can guarantee that to be safe and moving it, then move it. If you don't have the experience or knowledge, you don't know if that's supporting something that if you move it's going to collapse something else. So you're better off trying not to move it. Now, in the terrorism aspect, if something's suspicious, no, you're not touching it. Call the authorities, call somebody who knows what they're doing, that can scan a package or scan an issue so we can make sure that that's safe. Most important, remain calm while evacuating. Do not run, just remain calm. Now, earthquakes. I see a poll question. Has any of you ever been a part of an emergency that requires an evacuation of a workplace? That was given by Eric. Earthquakes. Have you guys experienced earthquakes? I'm in New Jersey. I know I've slept through an earthquake before, but I've actually never been through an earthquake where I've actually felt it. In recent news, 2017, 500 plus confirmed dead in Iran-Iraq earthquake. You know, that was sudden. You know, that's a 7.3 magnitude earthquake. It's a big earthquake. You have Mexico quakes, magnitude, and if you look, 2 in September, 19th and 23rd, actually 4 actually, 3 in 2017 in September, and then 1 in 1985, but all pretty heavy, pretty high up, 8.0, 7.1. These are the ones that you have to worry about. Magnitude, as you can see, the USGS earthquake stats worldwide, normally you have very, very low amount of 8.0s. They're going to be extremely destructive. You're going to see a lot of people pass away, a lot of deaths, confirmed deaths. When you get to an 8.0, even a 7 to a 7.9, I mean, any type of earthquake can be harmful, but normally when you get to the 7s, 8s, you're going to see a lot more confirmed dead. Richter Scale, less than 3.5, not felt, but it's recorded. 3.5, 5.5, felt damage, rare. These are the things that you're going to feel shake. You're going to say, oh my God, did I just feel an earthquake? Under 6, slightly damage to well-built buildings could cause major damage to poorly built building over small regions. Anything under 6 in third world countries, you can see a lot of damage in. I would say in the United States, you won't really see much under 6 in some areas, but not most. 6.1 to 6.9 can be destructive up to 60 miles away. 7.9, major earthquake, serious damage over large areas. Again, like I said, 7 to 8, that's when you're going to see the majority of your confirmed death tolls raise. A great earthquake, 8 or greater, it's a great earthquake, serious damage across 120 to 180 miles. Now, again, this is what your EAP needs to know and you need to understand. If an earthquake hits and it's 8.0, it's not like you're running to safety because you're going to feel 120 to 180 miles away. You can't do that. So the best thing is to basically find a place, secured place, less from all the hazards around, and try to stay safe and basically go through the earthquake. Richter and factors, an 8-point magnitude earthquake is not twice as strong as a 4. It is 10,000 times as strong. Outdoor hazards, this could also include indoor, statues, business signs. You don't want to be under trees. You don't want to be under business signs, parking lot lights, awnings, architect establishments during an earthquake. Tripping hazards. This is why people say, put your TV on a bracket or your dresser on a bracket so it doesn't tip over. You want to make sure your water heater, bookcases, file cabinets are to prevent from toppling over, especially if you're in California and you've experienced them before. Your hazardous neighboring businesses. know what's around you. Okay, like I said before regarding the evacuation route. Okay, do you want an evacuation route that has about 30 gas stations on it? No, because they could present a very big hazard. Now, if you needed gas, yeah, but most likely they're going to be shut down. But in a sense of security, stay away from them. Public agencies, factories, processing plants, chemical plants, large construction yards, landfills, military bases, active. Know your neighboring businesses. Know what they prevent. Know if they can help. A military base could actually help in an earthquake, for shelter, for resources. Now, chemical plant, no. You have an earthquake, the last thing you really want is to leave your building and go into a chemical plant. Probably not the best bet in this case. Hazardous chemicals. Is chlorine gas lighter or heavier than air? This is stuff that you guys normally don't know. Actually, chlorine gas is heavier than air at 3.04 kilograms. So what will end up happening, it's going to sink. It's not going to raise. It's going to be heavier. So it's going to be lower, which is a problematic when we deal with earthquakes and certain hazards, because you don't know what's involved. The EAP from another business, another plant, or even call your town emergency management. They have a bigger EAP that would be able to, get together on your CERT teams and certain things to make sure you completely understand the objective of what businesses and what the businesses together are doing to prevent any mass casualties. Drop, cover, and hold. Get under something. Stay away from doorways and windows. Okay, triangle life. This is what I was talking about before. As you can see on the slide, you have the table post, triangle life. So what I would do is do a 45-degree angle, and you want to hang on to that table post. The reason why is because that's where your support is. If anything falls, it's not going to come down straight. It's going to most likely tilt. Or if it does come down straight, the support of the table post, because of the foundation, should hold a lot better. Not saying it's a guaranteed, but it's your safest bet. During the event, stay away from glass, windows, outside doors and walls, electrical sources, light fixtures, anything that can fall. And do not use elevators. Now, during the event, remain in a protected position until shaking stops and debris stops falling. When it is safe, leave the building. Driving techniques. If you start feeling a shake when you're driving, slow down. Remain aware of other drivers. One of the things that I'm going to have to add to this slide because I totally forgot, put your hazards on. When you're slowing down, put your hazards on. Or alert other people. There's a hazard going on. Okay? Safely pull to the side of the road. Stop driving. Stay away from overpasses, trees, electrical lines. Power outages hazard. Fires. Fire sprinklers may be activated. Potential fire source. Fire and security alarms may be activated. Hazmat issues. Okay? Now, the thing about it is can you get electrocuted in a car? Yes, you can, though some say you can't. You can. It has happened. So what do you do? How do you get out of a car if wires are down? You're supposed to jump out as far as you can, both feet on the ground, and that's how you're supposed to do it. The mere fact of it is knowing these things, establishing this. Is there power lines outside of your outside your building? And if they are they in the front or the back? If they're out in the front, understand that's a potential hazard. So you might be using the back exit if you go out front and see the wires are down. If you're outside, stay there. Stay away from anything that can fall on you, like the outside debris like we were talking about. Watch for traffic. Watch for underground utility breaks, leaks, water leaks, gas leaks, anything. If you smell gas, get away from the area. Traffic. A lot of people don't pay attention. Especially, car accident happens, everyone's looking away, everyone's looking at that. If the same thing, if an earthquake, especially people who have never experienced them before, they're going to be in a shade of awe, kind of, oh my God, what's going on? They're really not going to be paying attention to driving. Floods and landslides. Floods are awfully deadly. As we know, we have Katrina, we had Sandy. Floods are awfully deadly, damaging, and they kill people, damage houses, crops, and cause extensive destruction. And same thing as we know. Look at Miami, look at Texas. In the recent news, Hurricane Harvey in 2017, 82 deaths, over 100,000 home damage. And if you look at the numbers of on the cost of damages, you're looking at the trillions, billions of trillions of dollars of damages to these properties. Flood types: natural or catastrophic floods. Okay. Reservoir failure. Heavy rains fall onto waterlogged grounds. Rainfall cannot soak in, so it runs down into the river. River raises dramatically and bursts its banks, flooding valley floors. Okay. What is landslide? Okay. Tension cracks, as you can see right here in the picture. Then you have the scrape. Then you have the tilted blocks. What's going to end up happening? You're going to start and then having it come down. Okay, this is normally you'll get a lot of landslides after earthquakes, especially if there's a lot of water. Landslide signs: spring, seep, or saturated ground, not typically wet on the top, but definitely somewhere that you've got a lot of water that has soaked into the ground. New cracks are unusual bulges in ground, streets, sidewalks, soil moving away from foundation, decks or patios tilting and moving, tilting or cracking of concrete floors and foundation, broken water lines, and other utilities. California mudslides. In 2018, January, 21 confirmed dead. Terrorism. In New York City, I'm actually in New Jersey. We've actually encountered from, actually in my hometown, that's actually where the gentleman that was setting the bombs off in New York City 2 years ago, that's where he actually got caught. Terrorism is a very new thing, although it's an old thing. It's since 2001. It's really in the headlines. We're up security and everything, so a lot of things are now coming to light that most people weren't thinking about in the 80s, 90s. Define terrorism is the calculated use of unlawful violence or threat on unlawfully violence to inculcate fear intended to coerce or intimidate governments or societies in the pursuit of goals that are generally political, religious, or ideological. The term dirty bomb refers to what? An explosive like dynamite laced with radioactive residue. Okay, this has been a huge threat, but yet nothing has happened into the use of using dirty bombs. A dirty bomb primary destruction power would probably be panic, not radiation damage. Most of the time, if a dirty bomb went off, you'd be more chaotic, more people running, getting hurt, probably more from running in fear than actually the bomb itself. The long-term destruction force to the bomb would be ionized radiation from the radioactive materials. This would increase radiation levels, would increase risk of cancer, radiation sickness. It wouldn't kill you right away, but it could kill many people down the line. Dirty bombs, again, I don't think I can continue on this. Basically, we'd rather not see a dirty bomb. It is prevalent. We do have to be worried about it. But in this case, same thing. If people get rid of contaminated clothing, shower and evacuate the area within a day or so of a small or medium blast, they would probably be fine. So it's still alarming, but understand that if a dirty bomb happened, you're throwing your clothes away, you're hopping in the shower, and you're getting out of town.
Scott, we are halfway through the presentation. Folks, just as a reminder, please utilize your chat menu and Q&A panels. We are halfway through the presentation. It is close to 30 minutes past the hour. Like I said, there's a lot of information to cover, but if we can have Scott use his brain here and kind of answer questions unique to your environment, that would be definitely advantageous. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, like Eric said, guys, I'm more of a classroom teacher. I want to know your experiences. I want to tell stories. I want to understand what your difficulties were, what you've experienced. It really brings light to understand what you guys are thinking. Chemical warfare. I actually, as everyone knows, as Eric told you, I'm actually on the Ebola task force regarding in New Jersey, where we would be cleaning up an Ebola case, anything happened. And when that happened, the one thing everyone was scared about was the aspect of using that actually in warfare. When toxic properties are used to kill, injure, and incapacitate, about 70 different chemicals have been used or stockpiled during the 20th century. Maybe liquid, gas, or solid form. Okay, tearing, vomit, psychological, lethal, blistering, blood, choking, nerve gas, all of that. That is all sort of chemical warfare agents that we have to worry about. Harassing agent, not intended to kill or injure, often referred to as riot control agent, MACE. Force combats out of concealed positions, effect resolved within minutes after removal, which means that's why cops have to get MACE. They have to experience it, understand about it. It's going to put you down for a couple minutes. Some people react differently, but yeah, it's going to put you down. Incapacitating agents produce deliberate effects with an immediate probability of permanent injury or loss of life. Casualties effect typically last over 24 hours. Medical attention not required for complete recovery. Okay. A chemical compound that is irritant can cause injury to the skin. These substances also attack the eyes or any other tissues that can encounter. Blood agents. Poisons that interfere with life-sustaining process of the blood, walk through inhalation or ingestion. Moderate exposure can put you in a coma, basically. Sometimes referred to as a pulmonary agent or lung irritant, cause a buildup of fluid in the lungs, which leads to suffocation. That's a choking agent. A nerve agent, most toxic of the known chemical agents. Basically, it goes through the nervous system, shuts your nervous system down, causing muscle contractions that lead to respiratory failure to death within minutes of exposure. Again, that was your chemical hazards that, again, they're on the news. Everyone's worried about them. Be familiar with them. Still have an EAP that controls it, but I wouldn't go out and buy gas masks for every member of your team. We're not at that level. So I would be just have it, understand what would happen, and maybe educate your people on exactly what would happen. Fire safety. In recent news, the Thomas fires in California, largest fire in California history, 15 deaths, over 282 acres burned. Before deciding to fight a fire, which we were talking about, do you run, do you stay? Be certain that the fire is small and not spreading. You have the proper fire extinguisher for work. What is burning? The fire won't block your exit if you can't control it. Fire in the kitchen. Can you control it? You have fire extinguisher right behind you. That's your call. If it's small, handle it. If you have the proper gear, handle it. If you know if it's spread, won't block you, try to handle it. If any of them three questions come back that you can't and you're uncertain about it, get out. Okay, common. So your A. Most buildings have ABC. That's your common. Your wood, paper, clothing, that's A. B, gasoline, propane, solvent. C, electrical. Now, D is more of your combustible metals, your magnesium, titanium. Your K is cooking mediums, oils, and fats. Okay, as you can see, this is your color codes. It's going to be on the side. It's going to say ABC, ABC, BC, Ds, Ks, and they all have some sort of agent with inside. Like you can see, A and B. It's water, regular dry chemical. Okay, is BC because it has dry powder and water. ABC, multiple purpose dry chemical. That's normally what you're going to see in most of your buildings. ABC, as you can see, BC, multiple dry chemical. Again, wet chemical is number K. Again, know what's in there, know what you're dealing with, knowing the hazard, and then making sure you have the right type of gear. Using a fire extinguisher. Using the pass system while holding the extinguisher upright. Pull the pin. Aim at the base of the fire. Squeeze the handle, sweep in the base of the fire. Fire needs oxygen to live. You get rid of the oxygen, the fire goes bye-bye. Do not aim high at the flames. When you're on fire, we all learned about this in probably kindergarten, if not sooner. You stop, drop, and roll. And you continue to roll till the fire is out or till someone can assist you. The NFPA Diamond. This is what's going to be on trucks, on your buildings, on chemicals. They're going to identify if it's the health, the flammability, the radioactive of each chemical. As you can see, corrosive, alkaline, acid, oxidizer, use no water, radiation. These are all going to be on the Diamond. You're going to see them on the trucks. We see them on all the DOT placards. And also on chemicals, they're going to be in the back or on your SDS sheets. Hazardous materials, as you can see, that's what's going to most likely, if I go back, is going to be in that white. So you're going to have radioactive, your flammable, solid to flammable, insulation hazards, corrosive, poisons, flammable gas, dangerous, oxidizer, explosive. So these are just some type of placards that do not enter the building. If you see these, evacuate the area immediately. Shelter in place diagram. Basically, you have to shelter in place. So what you're going to do, you're going to close the windows, the doors. You're sheltering in place. You're protecting yourself from any outside hazards that's trying to come in. Okay? So as you can see, actually use a cross, making sure that no one can break down. Normally in this case, I'll do a cross in the center of the door, and then I do the post on the exits. Post-event survival. The event has happened. Now what? Okay, what's going to happen now to your members, your employees? How are you going to feel now, or how are they going to react? Is anybody hurt? Is anyone dead? This is the post-event survival and how you need to understand what do you need to stay alive? Food, water, sanitation, search and rescue, medical aid, and shelter. Food consideration. Now, I know me, I probably do like 6,000 calories per day now. But 2,000 to 2,500 calories per day. You can definitely use a lot less than that if you needed to, but stay around that range. Dry food versus cooked food. Okay, understand that. Perishable to non-perishable. Size and weight consideration. Okay, and canned food. If you had a canned food and you forgot the opener, that wouldn't help. Allergies. I actually have I have celiac, so I can't have gluten. So I would hope that whatever would be in my plan, whatever would be in my house or anywhere, would be gluten-free materials, because if I'm not, I would be a little bit SOL, as you can say, going forward, because I'm allergic. I can't have that. My body doesn't process that well. Medical issues, diabetes, high blood pressure. Okay, do you have to make sure you have sugar on hand? Okay, Clif Bars. Clif Bars are actually really good. They have a version of them for gluten-free that I actually have in my truck. We're 24-hour service, emergency service. So a lot of the time, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm hungry. I know I can grab one on my way in. Food consideration, heat, cold, sugar, salt issues, dehydration, electrolyte loss, shelf life, rotation. Understand how all this works. Again, hopefully this will never happen more than a few days. I normally always, in a case of emergency, I always stockpile a week at an office, just in like a little closet, or as you can say, like a kitchen cabinet we have in our office. We always have about a week worth of supplies for all the office staff. Compromised food, make sure. Bad packaging, rodents, mold, insects. Still make sure you check that. You know, find out the expiration date. Understand that it might go bad. Water, 2 gallons per day of water per day humans require. Okay? Not necessarily saying it's a must, but that's what it's required. Problems, bulk, weight, storage, everything. Environmental conditions, heat or cold. This will all consider make or break a good EAP and preparation for food. Alternative water sources, water heaters, swimming pools, toilet tank water, rain, rivers. I actually have well water here at my house. So when we lose power, I have no well, so I have no water. So before a bad storm, we always fill up both of my tubs. That's giving me enough substantial water. Or what we do is we end up having bottled water on hand, but we still fill up the tub, at least one tub, to make sure that we have enough water.
Scott, we have a question coming in.
Yes.
They're asking, is it safe to actually drink the water from inside the toilet bowl?
Depending on what type of water you have, realistically. I actually have, I have a well, but I have a full house system, filtration system. So it goes through three medias to UV lighting before it goes to my water system, to my tank. So all my water is filtered, even my toilet water. So for me, yes. For you, yes, because technically it's coming out of your main from the street. It's not a different water source. It's the same water source. I don't see an issue with it. I would use the tank more than a bowl because the bowl probably has more contaminants in it from not properly cleaning. But the tank, I see no issue from drinking it if it's needed. Bad water risk. This is what we kind of were just talking about, as you can say with the bowl cleaner, because you do still have to worry about this. But that's also depending on if you have a pumping station. Was that affected? That's why you have the boiling water advisories at times. So it's really knowing what's around you, knowing what you're dealing with. For me, like I said, I have well water, and I have my filtration system. So I know exactly what's coming into my house, when it's coming in, and how clean it is. How much does a gallon of water weigh? 10 gallons of water is 83 pounds. Gallons for 3 days is 30. So that's for 3 days of water. That's 250 pounds of water for 10 employees. So water can weigh a lot, so make sure you have storage. Now, I did see, if I recall, there's, like I was talking about before, it seems like there's a few Serpros, a few restoration companies on here. I always make sure I have at least a month worth of supply of water at my shop at all times for my employees. So take that into consideration as well. You should have, no matter what, a week's worth of water on site. Shelter consideration, size, weight, durability, weatherproofing. Okay, is it going to prevent you from rain, wind, sun, snow, or is it just going to basically get you through the night because it's the only thing you can find? Look at that. My sleeping bag, I go hiking, so as you can see, I have 32 and below sleeping bag, and so that comes with me, and I know I can handle that in the snow. So if I needed to, it's also waterproof. So I know I'm able to handle a lot more using that if I needed to. So knowing the equipment and the gear you have is extremely important. Tent, pop-up company, tarps, alternative shelters, ponchos, vehicles, spare clothing, blankets, all of this is important. Okay, even with the tent, always have spare clothing. What happens if your tent blows away, pops a hole to it? Are you able to handle that? Always think about the worst, and when the worst does not happen, you're going to be a lot happier that you thought about that. First aid supplies. No basic first aid. I always tell people, most of your YMCA's, most of your Girl Scout troops, Boy Scout troops, or even your Toys R Us, well, used to be Toys R Us, they would provide CPR and basic first aid for new parents and people in the local community. We will actually be doing an initiative next year where we're going to be doing 4 classes for free, up to 30 people, and we're going to train people in basic first aid. The reason why you do that is you should know basic first aid. But your supply kit, what you should know. What you see here is a minimum. Again, you should have access to this PowerPoint if needed. But your scissors, your blankets, stirrup pads, all of these things you should have in a basic first aid kit. Medical aid. Okay, this is for triage, to sort. Now, hopefully, unless you're an EMT, unless you're through some type of medical personnel, you're not going to be the one making the call for triage. But if you are, this is what you're going to have. Red means immediate. Yellow could be delayed. Green could be minor. Black means skip by that person, it's deceased. So normally in a mass casualty, an EMT or something like myself, we would run by, okay, you have a broken arm, okay, is it stabilized? Yes, that's a minor. Scrape bruises, minor, okay. Missing finger, that's immediate. Sometimes that can even be delayed, depending on do you have it controlled. Because the puncture wound through the trachea is immediate. So that's what we're dealing with, and that's the call of the EMTs and medical staff. BBP, gloves, face mask, cleanup kit, clothing, CPR, mouth barriers. I give them away to all my guys as well, free. They're little pocket masks, so we never go mouth to mouth if we ever need to. AED access, part of emergency evacuation plan. Do you have an AED on site? Okay, stabilizing, slings, sprints. Like, this is all basic first aid. If you guys don't know this, schedule a first aid class, a CPR class. EHS does give them. My sister actually does teach them up here. So again, if you guys need it, schedule it. Get your whole staff trained in it. It's way better to have it than not have it. Improvised medical. What you'll have is you'll understand sticks, wood, clothing, duct tape. All of these things will help. Pads and certain things, feminine hygiene products can be used to control bleeding. Papers, even nosebleeds, paper, plastic, all of these things can be used. Once you know basic first aid, now you're going to be able to know how to think outside the box and be able to handle most of the situations that are thrown at you. Medical aid stations place victims in head-to-toe configuration to expedite victim assessment. Because what we do is we go head-to-toe. That's how we do our assessments, medical assessments. So I go down, then I move to my next one, then I move to the next one. Make it easier to do it that way. If you become trapped, guys, stay calm. Understand rescue is on its way. Allow things to stabilize. Try self-first aid if possible. Listen for rescue. Listen if people are screaming. Or stay calm because your oxygen level. You don't want to hyperventilate and take more oxygen. You want to stay calm. You have to preserve that oxygen. Search and rescue. Golden rule. Always do the greater good for the greater number. Okay, light rescue versus heavy rescue. Heavy rescue, 10-15% of rescue operations. Light rescue is 80-90%. Rescue steps, gather facts. Okay, scene safety, guys. Assess damages. Okay, identify your resources. What do I have available? Establish rescue priorities, okay? When you do Task Force 1, like here in New Jersey, we're going to understand what's going on. I'm not running into a building, okay? I'm going to look at that building. I'm going to have the plans in front of me. I'm going to understand what's going on, how to handle it, entry points and everything. It's not going to be basically a show going in and saying, I hope I make it out. Hand crank fire flashlight. We all like them old radios that I used to do at the beach where you cranked it up and you had that flashlight in the radio. Always have one. Hand crank flashlight, why not? Batteries, I change mine every 6 months, even if we don't use them or not. I probably waste batteries, but if needed for flashlights, working gloves, safety glasses, whistles, duct tape. Search and rescues, are these buildings safe for light rescue? Pancake voids. This is what I was talking about back in the day about the structure. Pancake voids, most commonly pre-1933, are small voids throughout a structure that are created by weakening or the destruction of load-bearing walls and the result collapsing of floors onto each other, which means it comes straight down. We've stayed away from this recently, and that's because we don't want that. Lean-to voids are created when a collapsed wall or floor is resisting against an outside wall, creating a pocket of space. A victim trap, this is what we kind of like. A victim trapped in this type of void has the greatest chance of being alive. As you can see, because remember the film, if we go all the way back and you saw the triangle, if you look at this picture, it's definitely a triangle. Person's going to be safe in one area. Searching a building. Okay, we're going to go right to left, tracing the walls. Again, unless you're in search and rescue, you guys really don't need to know about this. But for your information, we're always going to move right to left. So always know if, I always tell people, stay on the right side of a room from the door entrance. If you're there, you'd be found first, and it's much easier. Maintain voice contact with your partner. That's for search and rescue. So basically what will end up happening is I'm going to, entering room 1, going right from left, on door wall, second wall, third wall, fourth wall, coming out. That's how I normally maintain my search and rescue. Okay, decomps, body decomposition. That begins immediately after death. Environment conditions affecting it. Bodies exposed to air would decompose more quickly. Buried bodies would decompose 8 times slower. This is due to part of limited insect activities. Body in water will decompose slowly. Deceased, livor mortis, 20 minutes, 3 hours postmortem, 6 to 12 maximum. Rigor mortis, onset 10 minutes, 2 hours. 12 to 24 maximum stiffness, 72 became to loose stiffness. After 72 hours, when you begin to lose stiffness, that's because your fluids are leaking out of your body. The gases are as well. Disposal of deceased. Make sure you know, again, this is something that we're talking about, but you really guys don't need to understand. Your consideration, Catholic, Protestant, Muslim. Understand and respect their religious beliefs.